Our panel of break-fix petrolheads are back for another rousing "What should I buy" debate. Using unique shopping criteria, they are challenged to find our first-time collector the best vehicle that will make their friends go, "Where do you get that?" or "What the hell is wrong with you?" at the next Cars and Coffee. What's up, everyone? It's your host, Brad, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Eric.
Heyo!
So, GTM Northeast Region Chief Harry is looking for a new car, specifically a wagon. So we thought, wouldn't it be fun to rally the troops and play another round of What Should I Buy? Wagons Edition. So Harry, why don't you tell us why you'd like to become a member of the Long Roof Society by telling us what you're replacing and laying out your shopping criteria?
Okay, so currently the only vehicle my wife and I have is a 99 4Runner, third gen, best gen. We're replacing a mini four-door that we leased. Good car, not a great car. Definitely looking for something a little bigger. My requirements are kind of unique because my wife is really hard on rims. Something with a big sidewall is really important, which is hard to find in nice cars. The higher you get in the model, bigger the rim, the smaller the tire. So looking for some big tires, not big rims. Looking for something that says I've got class but not money. Oddly enough, going to customers' houses and being seen around town, being in a small business, it's important to not be too flashy, but not looking like you're broke. So that's where the Mini came in last time. That's also really important to us. Normally, I like to lease cars because I don't like to get committed to anything outside of my wife. I like 3 years, maybe 2 years, and change it out for something else. All right, so those are pretty much our requirements. I don't really have anything else. Don't need four-wheel drive. We got the 4Runner. I've got a bunch of trucks. Yeah, that's about it.
Do you have a dollar requirement, Harry?
Yeah, so looking like you have class but not money. That is the dollar requirement. So it's probably somewhere in that 30 to 50 range. Anything more than 50 to me would be, I'd love to own a Merc wagon, but it's just too much money.
Is there a age? Does it have to be within the last 5 years, 7 years, 3 years, 10 years? Do you have, are you looking new, used, any of those types of requirements?
So the current fleet is my work truck, which is new but beat. It's already got 33,000. The 99 4Runner, and we have a 74 Alfa Romeo. So that is the current fleet. So something that is new in the last, maybe just off lease, would be as old as I'm willing to go. So basically I'm looking for a new car.
Okay.
And it'll be really comfortable on road trips. A parameter that I didn't mention earlier, like being able to do 500-600 miles at a pretty good clip.
All right. Now that we've properly chummed the water, the piranhas, the rest of tonight's panel of GTM members will submit some cars for you to consider. But before we get into it, I'd like to introduce Mike Crutchfield. We've got his lovely wife, Chrissy, definitely the better half. We've got Hazmat.
Definitely.
We've got Tanya, hailing from Texas. We've got Andrew Mason. We've got a newcomer to the show, Rob Lors. And then, of course, you've met our Northeast Region Chief, Harry. All right, who wants to chime in first? Who's got a car for Harry? I've already got 3 or 4, but I want to hear what the peanut gallery has to say.
Before we start, there's one thing I have to point out. There's been a long-standing internal debate. Well, let's call it what it is. It's an argument within GTM about the differences between a wagon, a hatchback, and a liftback. While some might lump all of these cars together, we don't. Therefore, for tonight's purposes, to be considered a wagon, the vehicle must be built with a D-pillar. Vehicles like the VW GTI or the Subaru Impreza, though wagon-like, are considered hatchbacks and therefore disqualified. And with that, let's get into it.
Given that criteria, your suite of available wagons has gotten very small over the years. You've got really the Buick Regal TourX, which is, I think it's actually a very attractive car. The Golf SportWagen, which ended production in 2019, which is still available new on dealer lots, as well as the all-wheel drive version of that, which it's a neat little gimmick for them to sell more. But the problem I have with the newer Volkswagen wagons is they chopped the roof line on those wagons so much with the Mark 7s that it makes putting anything large in the back of that lift gate really difficult. I have a feeling the Buick has a similar problem, but I'm not sure it's as pronounced as the Volkswagen.
Are you saying I don't fit in the back of the Volkswagens?
You do in pieces.
You might not fit in the Mark 7s in the back seat, but and the Mark 6 has just ended too long ago for the criteria, unfortunately.
I guess another criteria that I didn't mention is the fact that we own a fleet of trucks, and I also own my pickup truck. So capacity of a wagon isn't really like, we don't have to put shit in it. We have other trucks to do most of the heavy hauling. I do like just having the space in general for grocery getting and whatnot. Like, I like having the space versus having a grocery getter. And the Buick Regal X is currently leading the charge, and I can't believe it. I've never owned – actually, I owned one GMC, but I've never owned a GM vehicle before outside of that one piece of crap truck.
Well, I mean, we actually have – we've had wagons, and we have a Passat sedan right now because, unfortunately, the U.S. was cursed to not getting the wagon. But we actually have found that the trunk in the Passat holds a similar volume to what the back of our Jetta wagon held, because the trunk is just massive. While it's nice to have the larger opening, if having that big empty cavernous space that fits large items isn't as big a deal, looking at one of the sedans with a larger trunk for a grocery getter could still solve your problem.
All right, so I'm going to throw it over to Chrissy because I want to hear what the other half of the Crutchfield dynasty has to say.
I feel like he stole a lot of my stuff. I think that under that $50K mark, especially if it's like an end of a lease, you can probably look at a Volvo, like an V70, which are nice, and they've gotten away from the boxiness of it, which is nice too. I do like the Buick, but at the same time, it's a little expensive for a Buick, in my opinion. And I do like the Golf Wagon, but like Mike said, the roof line's lower. However, you and Justine are shorter than Mike, so I don't think that's a problem. Sorry, hon.
Rob, you're new. You're fresh meat. Let's go for it.
The Regal TourX actually only starts at like just under $30K. So price-wise, it sort of fits right in there. I was also going to say the only counteract to the sedan is I saw obviously that you have a dog, and dogs don't like trunks. Dogs love hatchbacks and wagons. So I know for my family, we had a Jetta that my wife loved, and we finally got rid of it and got her a Subaru Outback, which I would not suggest only because they switched all the CVTs, and that's a pile of crap. But our Outback is a manual, so it's actually a ton of fun. And the dog loves being in the back of that thing, and the kids love sliding around in it too. But yeah, I'd say the Buick should be the leading contender. I think if you go to the Volvo, it starts edging into that, like, you have old money sort of feel, as opposed to just looking nice. It looks like you're loaded. A close friend, classmate's parents recently got rid of their Mazda 3 and picked up a pre-owned, V70 wagon. And literally the first joke on the first camping trip was like, oh, who died and left you a pile of money? Because it just seemed like that was the joke to make when you get a Volvo wagon. So the Buick wagon, we saw it at one hiking trip, and it is gorgeous when properly outfitted. Like, we walked up to it, and my wife and I literally stopped in our tracks, and both of us were like, what is that? Because at a distance across the way, it actually has a little bit of the look of the Jaguar wagons they made for a while that were pretty sweet looking, even though I wouldn't necessarily want one, but they were pretty sweet looking. So it has a tinge of that Jaguar wagon look, a tinge of that Volvo wagon look, but it's a Buick, so no one thinks that you're rolling in dough, and it looks pretty fly and meets all the criteria, so it's tough to beat that option.
Is the Volvo an old money look or just an old look?
What does fly mean?
If you have to ask, you are not.
You're pretty fly for a white guy here.
Exactly. It looked pretty awesome. I'll put it that way. It looked sleek and futuristic, even, I would say. So in whatever guise it was in, it was pretty awesome.
So I would agree with you there, Rob. I really thought the Regal was a handsome car until I saw it in person.
Yeah.
And the photographs of it were much better than when I first saw it at the DC Auto Show a couple of years ago when it debuted. And the reason I say that is the concept Regal TourX was different in the rear. And what really turned me off is I didn't like the chrome, and I didn't like the way it felt like the artist's pencil broke as he got to the D-pillar. And it's like, well, I don't really know what to do here, so I'm just going to continue this chrome from the front all the way to the taillights. And if I owned one of those, and my wife considered one, as a matter of fact, and we ultimately ended up with a Cadillac instead, the first thing she said was, that needs to go away, meaning make that black, right? Because it's just a little bit ostentatious because the rest of the car doesn't have any chrome except for that large arch from the A pillar to the D pillar.
That's a GM thing. Just throw too much chrome everywhere. You buy a GM car if you want to look good. You gotta get rid of the chrome.
GM loves the chrome.
Styling is a personal thing. It's very subjective. I still think at the right angles, it is a good looking car, but it is deceivingly large. And I think that's another thing that I didn't realize from the photographs until I saw it. It's a very, very big car.
Yeah, I think it's similar length to the V70, which is not a small Volvo either.
Oh, it's bigger than the V70. It's huge.
Is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely it had been backed into a spot. So that front 3/4 view, it is a gorgeous vehicle. Like, I mean, it's one of those, you definitely, you stop yourself in a parking lot to look at it, which is amazing to see. Let's call a spade a spade. We're saying this about a Buick, which is kind of ridiculous for a Buick made in the last 20 years. Like, that's the car that your grandmother happened to have bought that you kind of laugh at. That's about it.
It's a Vauxhall. Let's be
fair
serious,
point.
right?
Yeah, you mean an Opel, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
right?
It's made in Germany, so checks that box.
Other than the aesthetics of the Regal wagon, the other downside to the Regal, why we didn't get one, was when we looked at it from an economy standpoint, that Regal is so big and heavy, and it's powered by a 2-liter turbo like everything is nowadays. The mileage was worse than the Cadillac we had. And so at that point, Jess...
What was the mileage?
It was... So the Cadillac, the best it could ever do was like 24, and the Regal was worse than that. So it's not great, but if you don't care about fuel economy, then enjoy yourself.
I would own a Mazda 5. You get bigger tires on it. They like everything's an 18 and it goes to a 19, and that's why it's disqualified. Like, I'd own a hatchback. You can't get bigger rims on it. I have to immediately swap out.
Okay, Andrew. So what else do you want to say other than Buick?
Well, I was gonna say Outback. I didn't know about the CVT. I was not familiar with that, but up until hearing that, I mean, a Subaru is definitely not ostentatious. It definitely blends in, and if you need someone to work on it, it's a Subaru. They're like Legos. So that was going to be my out-of-the-box pick. But, yeah, I mean, just while Rob and Crutch were talking, I was looking up that Buick, and, yeah, it's a good-looking car. And, I don't know, I'd definitely get a driving one. But, no, I don't have anything else.
We went to the local Subaru dealer, and he's been bothering me for probably about 6 months now. Like, borderline harassment. That guy put a bad taste in my mouth.
Was he sending you care packages full of granola and Birkenstocks too?
It was pretty close. If he knew where I lived, he probably would have. During the pandemic, like the heat of the moment, he's like, we're still open. You can come in and order a car from the parking lot. I was like, Dave, I don't want your car. Thank you.
I mean, the Outbacks are, I mean, we love ours, and everybody who owns one loves them. I mean, there's a reason everybody who has an Outback buys another Outback, because they're great. And just in the last 8 months or almost a year, you can get the, whatever they call it, the XT model that has the turbocharged motor. So instead of dealing with that 178 horsepower, you get the 268 horsepower one. And it's only like a 3 or 4 mile per gallon hit. And so it actually gets out of its own way. But the one complaint from anyone who's driven one, and I've had them as rental cars a few times because I'll seek them out because they feel familiar, which is nice. And they're much better than most of the crap you can get, is just that CVT drives you insane. I mean, you're driving it and you're like, everything about it just annoys me as I'm driving it.
The biggest thing about Subarus, I have a shop down the road from me at a friend of mine. It's a Subaru tuner. The beauty of those cars is if you haven't done a head gasket, wait, you'll do one soon. That's been the biggest problem with Subarus, is they are just notoriously unreliable in that respect. They don't have the durability. And a lot of them that I see, for whatever reason, they rot. Which really surprises me. I know that's probably less of an issue for Harry because he's not probably not keeping it for 20 years. But those things rot, and it's not a good thing.
Ours is a 98. We've had zero problems with that. The valve cover gaskets I've had to do, but I've done them myself because, as Andrew said, like, they're a joke to work on. I drove it up a pair of ramps, and half an hour later, they were both replaced. In a week, I'm replacing the power steering pump, and mine's got 170,000 miles on it. And that's like the first 3 things I've had to replace are those things.
I should also say that the requirement for this car is about 5,000 miles a year. My wife works from home and doesn't leave the house. That's kind of where the leasing comes in, because we can get a 10,000 mile lease and be okay. She doesn't drive. Worst case scenario, we just start driving my truck at the end.
Why don't you just go old school and buy some classic station wagon.
Yeah, you need a late '80s Grand Marquis with wood paneling on the side.
Actually, what I really want is one of those old Merc diesel wagons. That's what I want in the driveway.
Nice 300 TD.
Well, the nice thing about those is you can do those with veggie oil. Those were the
Yeah,
ones.
because I have so much veggie oil laying around, I'm just gonna be able to fill up all the time.
Let's throw another choice out there. So, I mean, there are some old school options, and I think we'll get to that. But let's stay on this in the last 2 years, potentially be able to lease it or off lease type of car. Does anybody else have anything in the hopper? I have a few, but continue.
I want to hear from Tanya because she's against wagons. She's anti-wagon. She's perfect for this. I want to hear what she has to say.
I'm not anti-wagon. I'm anti-people that pretend like wagons are the savior to everything, when in fact wagons have unfortunately gone to the wayside because SUVs have become more popular. So there's been people that are like, oh, I need a wagon because how could I possibly fit my groceries in a Camry? And it's like, you can fit your groceries for like 6 months in your Camry. Let's be real here. That's not why you want a wagon. Just admit that you like the styling and the aesthetics and the performance that a wagon brings you versus something like an SUV. Because unfortunately, I'm not in a station in life where I need an SUV, and I don't want one. An SUV they're kind of ugly, they're really big, they're fuel inefficient, they're not performance vehicles. You're not going to go trundling down mountain roads, really taking turns. You can still do that in a wagon because it's a really long car. And my problem with wagons is just people that aren't honest about why they like a wagon. It's like they're embarrassed to say they like a wagon. Just admit that you like the styling of a wagon. It's fine. I don't hate all of them. I mean, some of them are ugly, like the old ones, okay? Who's out there trying to get one of those Partridge Family wood panel style wagons?
I would love a Buick Roadmaster.
No, I don't want no Oldsmobile, whatever they were, okay? But, a nice, tastefully lowered A4 wagon with big rims and tinted windows. I mean, yes, please, I would definitely drive one of those if you gave it to me. Am I going to go choose one? No. But, I mean, there you have it. At the end of the day, depending what your use case is, this day and age, unfortunately, an SUV trumps out wagons, and that's why they're disappearing, because you get the same cargo space, if not more, have more than the small 2.5 nuclear family. You get third row seating, and granted the third row isn't necessarily comfortable, but for small children they can fit back there, and you can still carry some things in the trunk. You get all that space. You get four-wheel drive. You can also not get four-wheel drive. You got ground clearance, so you can go up into the mountains and the dirt roads and all that stuff. And honestly, you're not going to take your low-riding wagon over tree trunks. That's an exaggeration. You're probably not going to take your SUV either. Maybe a Bronco, but whatever. But it's not as practical anymore, and they're just disappearing. So my biggest gripe again is just people that aren't forthright with why they like wagons.
For us, it's very unique because we want to be the ideal wagon owner, just for the aesthetic. I just don't like sedans. Just they don't tick my boxes. And they don't rev my motor.
I appreciate you saying that.
But to Tanya's point, I did some fact checking with respect to wagons because, as she stated, matter of factly, SUVs are taking over. They've been taking over for 15 years now, right? And so as I was doing my research, in 2010, so going back just 10 years, in the United States, this doesn't include, as Rob said, there were some Jaguars and some one-off wagons that they sold all of 3 of in the United States. But in 2010, there were 16 wagons available that you could choose from. That's pretty decent considering the number of manufacturers that actually bring cars to the States. In 2015, that number reduced by 50%. 5 years later, we're down to 8 wagons available. In 2019, 6. And one of those 6, I actually don't even consider it a wagon, and we'll go over that later. So your choices are getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer every day. But Harry hit on something with the sidewall thing with the tires, right? And I've heard the stories about the bent wheels, and I bought a set off of you, and yeah, they were rough. I would say if that's a major thing, then maybe the wagon isn't the right choice, and something like a Grand Cherokee or the new Bronco or something else is the right choice because it's the same size.
The Bronco is in the works. When I can get a Bronco, the Bronco is something I do want.
Put a down payment on one today.
Yeah, and get one in 2022, but I need a vehicle today.
I hear you.
Like, I'm ready to buy next week.
Gotcha.
I have my sales guy from work all primed up. I think his dealership owns 42 different marquees, so I basically can get whatever I want. I just need to text him and say, this is the car I want. Please have it ready for me on this date.
Are you limited to your manufacturer? Because if you don't want to go full SUV, there's obviously the small compact crossover type SUVs, the HRVs, the Honda HRVs of the world, if you will.
So we were right before COVID, like, really shut shit down. We were about to buy a CX-5, really close. It's still probably the clubhouse leader for us. That really red CX-5 is just a really nice car. It's a lifted wagon, as Tanya kind of alluded to, didn't all out say it, but with that unibody chassis on those cars, those crossovers, they're just lifted wagon. So that's kind of where we were leaning towards, actually staying down range in that CX-5. So we didn't get the bigger tires. Specifically. I mean, she is literally brutal. So I found out why, though. My wife is only 5'2", maybe. She actually can't see the potholes in rural Pennsylvania, so she hits them because she's so short. It's like a little old lady driving. So she can't see the potholes, and she just runs into them. And then I think of the TDI, we had a Volkswagen TDI for years. She went through 4 or 5 rims in a year. I bought her 16s to make it through the rest of our payment.
I might have a better suggestion. Leave Pennsylvania.
Yeah. The problem is there's just not a lot of choices out there right now for wagons. And you're right. I think your better option is to find a small to mid-size crossover because it fills all the same needs without having to get yourself stuck in a niche, which is the wagons right now. As Eric was saying, they went from 18 to 9 wagons in 2019. But, if you look at my favorite kind of cars, which are coupes, and particularly 3-door coupes, they don't exist. Volkswagen doesn't sell those anymore.
Okay, so Kretschmann said a Regal, or the Buick Regal. Rob said the Buick Regal. Mr. Mason, I believe, said the Buick Regal, and a bunch of other words. Hazmat hasn't said anything. Tanya said, don't buy a wagon. Chrissy said Mike stole her thunder. Eric, do you want to chime in, or should I go?
Well, I have a legitimate answer, and then I have some other alternatives. But if we're sticking within the last 2 years...
I want the alternatives for sure.
Oh, we're definitely going to get there because they're good, let me tell you. If we're sticking within the last 2 years, if you want something that isn't too bougie, that is going to be a great all-around car, doesn't suck fuel like it's going out of style, can handle the weather up in Pennsylvania, I would tell you to look at the A4 Allroad. It's a better looking car than the Regal. As good looking as the Regal is, like Tanya said, you tint the windows and put a set of wheels and tires, if you were doing that, on an A4, great car. Great handling car, excellent all-wheel drive.
Yeah, and the A4 doesn't say you have a ton of money. It just says that you wanted that car. It's like owning the Beamer wagon. The Beamer wagon maybe exudes a little money, but just says you really wanted a wagon.
The Allroads were always big money. They rivaled the S4s in certain respects because, the S4 was slammed on the ground station wagon. The Allroad was up in the air station wagon. The terrifying thing about those cars is it's an Audi. And I have a friend, he bought an S4 wagon. He has so far sunk $30,000 into it. And it still isn't done because it needed turbos and it needed a motor and there's a laundry list, and that's kind of the problem with those cars is.
Well, see, I think Matt is talking about the A6 Allroad, which the older Allroads were notorious for having all kinds of issues, mechanical issues, electrical issues. That's back when Audi was junk. Now Audi's just a little junky, but they were real serious junk back then. I think Eric is talking about the new A4 based Allroad, which is supposed to be a much better car.
And it uses a 2-liter turbo GTI motor, so it's a commodity engine, which is much cheaper. And if something does break, it's a couple $100 instead of a couple $1,000. And I'm not exaggerating there, but it is a decent price differential if you look at what the A6 was. And the A6 doesn't make my list for that very reason. And it's also massive. I mean, it might as well be a yacht in comparison to the A4. And they did make a newer version of the A6 Allroad, but again, it's just too big for me. And when you start comparing lengths and you're getting up above, 195 inches, I mean, you're starting to get into, Explorer territory, in terms of sizes and vehicles that are bigger than a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I mean, stuff, it just, at that point, why do you need the wagon? Just buy an SUV. It's just too big, in my opinion, but to each his own, right? Just to continue on that thought, if we go back to 2015 and you were considering something just a little bit older, maybe picking it up used, something from CarMax, I would tell you out of the list of the 8 cars or maybe 10 cars that were available in 2015, knowing the criteria now that you have, I would actually lean you towards the Honda Cross Tour because, again, a soft car, big car, lift back, with big puffy balloon tires, comes in all-wheel drive, same old K motor that was like in the TSX and that kind of thing also came with the V6. And it's cheap. It's a Honda.
Well, Acura made one too.
Yeah, I was going to touch on to add the class factor, you would get the Acura ZDX, which is essentially the Cross Tour in Acura trim, and it's a little bit better. I think it's better looking. It's more angular, more aggressive looking, I guess. They were a lot more expensive than the Cross Tours, but I think that would be a similar alternative.
They didn't sell.
No, so they're harder to find.
Our old bookkeeper had one. I haven't seen any of them other than that.
Yeah, the Cross Tour, I got a neighbor with a Cross Tour, and that has not aged well looks-wise.
Yeah.
I agree from a usability standpoint, it's perfect, right? It's balloon tires. They use it to putz around, a few thousand miles a year at most in it, and they have a dog and a daughter, so to Tanya's point, right? The difference in my brain for a wagon is if you have a dog that's bigger than a Shih Tzu, a wagon helps a ton because then you can actually have a passenger and a dog if you want to go out camping and stuff, or keep at least your interior slightly clean. But yeah, that's the Cross Tour. It's a very usable, functional vehicle, but its looks have not. I mean, I see it every day when I walk my dog outside, and it hasn't aged well. I find it interesting as a car guy, but it's definitely more car guy interesting than traditional decent looking car. The Acura looks pretty solid though.
I'm absolutely anal when it comes to cleaning my cars, and all the vehicles get maintained outside of the Miata. You guys have seen the Miata. The Miata is beat. It's currently sitting outside, hasn't been started in 4 months.
I think Harry's Miata is still carrying the same mud from 2018 Summer Bash, Shenandoah.
It is. The rest of my vehicles are all maintained. I really, really love detailing cars. When I get to take Saturday and Sunday off from work, that is what I do in my free time to enjoy myself, is detail cars. So I really love it. That's why we bought the 4Runner, just so I didn't have a car that my wife could drive it as much as she wanted and ruin it and not wash it and take the dogs out and not have me freak out, because I will.
So Eric, what else is on your list?
I'm not getting into the good ones yet, but if I go back another 5 years into the 2010s, there's some really interesting stuff there. Now, I know it's out of Harry's criteria. I want to dive into the used car market just a little bit, just for fun.
Yeah, me too. I want to dive in too. We could maybe own one of those and a new car.
So when you
possibilities.
When you go back to 2010, you have all sorts of weird one-offs like the Lexus, Wagons and the Mazda 6s and all that kind of stuff. But you also have some enthusiast cars in 2010. You got the 3 Series BMWs, the 5 Series BMWs, the Mercs, the E-Classes, all that kind of stuff. You've got a plethora of Volvos, V50, 70, XC70, which is still a wagon before it became an SUV. But you also have stuff like the Cadillac CTS station wagon, which, I mean, if you're a car guy, that's the holy grail of wagons.
Good luck finding one of those. New they were 60 grand, used they're 70.
But you don't have to get the V.
That's true. That was my point. You can
But they're also tiny.
Knew they were 50 and used. They don't exist.
They're itty bitty cars. They're teeny weeny cars inside. They're normal size on the outside. Every auto show I would go sit in those things because I was excited as an enthusiast to get in one. Even the passenger seat was too small, and I'm barely 6 feet tall. It's a tiny, tiny car.
It really depends. But speaking of the Cadillac, I would tell you, having owned one, the SRX is not that much bigger. It actually isn't really bigger at all than the CTS wagon. It's up higher, bigger sidewalls. It drives like a Cadillac. It's got a GM engine that's been around for 100 years. The gas mileage was the only deterrent on the SRX. So I like the angular style. It looks like an elongated, kind of stretched out CTS. And you can have one of those any day of the week. I will tell you, do a 2015 or a 2016 the last year like we had, because that's when they improved the Q system and a lot of the interior stuff. It's a lot better than the early ones. They just took care of some of the problems. And those cars are relatively inexpensive. If you wanted to go into that crossover and have a little bit more posh, I would tell you that as an option.
But I'm 5'10", just for the record. 5'10", I fit in everything.
I'm 5'11".
I've instructed in Lotuses. I fit in every vehicle made.
Yeah, no, and I normally can squeeze. I mean, I have a Miata. It is what it is. But like that car just felt claustrophobic coming out of any other vehicle I sat in, including like a Boxster or a Cayman. Like you sit in that CTSV and it's like you're in like this weird little shell. It's the weirdest. It's too small. It's comically small.
So what I will say though is, I mean, if you take all the, the Kia Rondos and the Hyundai Elantra Tourings and all that garbage and throw them away,
they scream money.
They do.
The Elantra Touring, I have a friend with. They actually like that car a lot.
I do too, and she raves about it. But what else is in there is what Mike was getting at is if you go back to 2010, there is a Passat wagon, right? So if you're looking for a bigger Volkswagen, stuff like that. But I think there's some other cars in that mix that I think we've forgotten about. And again, I was looking at these just block years to say what car was sold in that year. I don't know when they ended. I didn't do that much research to say, okay, they made the Cross Tour forever. I mean,
when did they stop making the TSX wagon? That was actually a good looking car.
If they made the Cross Tour through 15, I think they just sunsetted the Cross Tour a couple of years ago. So it'd probably be at the same time.
Looks like 2014 was the last one.
Okay.
You mean the European Honda Accord wagon?
It was a pretty decent, as wagons go, it wasn't bad. It wasn't nearly as weird as the mid-90s the Honda Accord wagon. That was the weird angular, flip-up headlight front end and this modern rounded rear end that didn't match the front at all.
If you go back to that 2010, I haven't researched this like you have, Eric, but like my favorite looking wagon of sort of that 2000 to 2010, 2015 world is the Saab wagons.
9.5 wagon would be pretty
those 9.5 wagons are really attractive cars. They drive pretty well. You can still get them with a stick if you wanted. You don't have to. But they had tons of space. They have like a little bit of the quirkiness with the key on the floor and stuff. And they drove really well. And most of those Saabs came with pretty big sidewalls that you would have any problems, getting the smaller tires and those things. And those Saab wagons are I think, really, really attractive.
Now, Harry, did you consider that the Essence model of the TourX comes with an in-vehicle air ionizer?
Oh,
so,
my God.
I mean, I don't know if any Saabs have that.
Air gas up to it and make
air ionizer. So it cleans the air as you're in it. So Harry, no matter how funky you are, it's just...
That sounds like something I need.
Does it kill COVID?
So my wife... We're driving around in my at 150 today. My wife's complaining about my body odor the whole time because I work outside.
I mean, I want to go back to what Andrew said. Now, Andrew, you said that there's an air ionizer. Is that in the Buick or is that in another?
Built into the Essence level trim of the Buick.
Okay, so I have a much cheaper solution to this problem of air ionization.
Put the windows down.
I heard recently that you can put a scented candle in your center console, and that takes care of the problem.
Buick has an opportunity right now because if they market this the right way and let people know there's an ionizer, but maybe modify it to kill COVID.
How about it cleans up its own carbon footprint as you drive it? How about that?
I'm not a big fan of the old like 1920s robber headlights. It looks like a raccoon on those
I just
late
thought they
model
were-
Saabs. They're weird.
I thought they were fly cars. I like that. I'm trying to look up what years they had those wagons, but the Saab 9.5.
What does fly mean?
Nice.
But Harry, I mean, I'll sell you my Golf Estate. You know, it's got a 6-cylinder. It's a wagon. You know, it's all good. It's a 2003 though.
We know of another one coming down the pipe too.
That's true.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to convince. Well, actually, she wants old cars, but she can't handle old cars. Every time she drives a 4Runner, she's like, "Oh, it made a clunk." I go, "Yeah, it's old. It makes clunks. That's what they do. They're old cars. You just have to deal with it." Shuts the door of the Alfa, like, "Oh, it made a noise." Yeah, that's what it does. It's old. It makes noises. You just have to deal with them. So she's really a new car girl.
All right,
This was
Tanya.
2009, by the way, for the Saab 9.5 wagon.
Tanya, you said you had another one?
Not in the 2010 to 2015 range.
Oh, I don't even care about his criteria. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I like. Harry be damned. His criteria means absolutely zero to me, and I'm about to lay into it, but I want to hear what you got.
It's on like Donkey Kong. Come on.
So Rob stole a little bit of my thunder there, because if we're gonna go older, 92X Aero, what a good looking wagon.
It's a Subaru.
Looking Saab. I don't care. It looks better as a Saab than a Subaru.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And I saw one like when I was in Colorado the last time. There was a lady just trolling down the highway, and I was like, "Damn, that looks good."
I've always really liked the Subarus.
One of my favorite cars in sedan form is the last 9.5 Aero that they made. It's just a slick-looking car.
I got a buddy who bought one of those when he had his first kid, and like got it like 1 year old but brand new on the lot, sort of thing. And with a stick, and I was like, "If you sell that in the next 2 years, you better call me first, because it's a phenomenal car." He didn't. He still has it, and he still loves it. But that's a good-looking car.
I will say this. I have worked on a lot of cars over the years, and I have never used so many expletives as when I work on a Swedish car.
Well,
And it's just one of those things that, as good looking as they are and whatever, I just can't. Right. And it's
The old ones were so easy to work on, though. Like, I remember like driving somewhere with a buddy in an old 900, and like the shift linkage broke, and we nursed it in third gear to some like truck stop and bought like literally a thing of string, a couple things of bubble gum, and some paper clips, and we rigged up the shifter so we could get like 3 or 4 of the gears for the rest of the way home. And we did it from inside the car. Like, you take off one panel and you're like, "There's the whole linkage. We'll just fix it." I mean, it was so easy to work on.
the problem with Saabs was, at that time period, socialized medicine, because you got 6 months of time off. So you didn't feel like coming in tomorrow. You didn't come in, but Joe, who normally builds transmissions, is putting interiors in. And then Joe doesn't feel like coming in, so the guy who normally mounts tires is building engines. I'm trying to remember when GM sold them.
10 years ago at this point almost.
Isn't that
It
long?
was 2009, I think, was the last year you could buy the last model year of an actual Saab.
Saab Vegan is really high on my list of fantasy cars, though.
I think it's a vegan though. It's not plant-based.
Vegan. Vegan? Wagon?
It only runs on biofuel. You can't use regular gas.
If you forced me to drive a station wagon, there's only one I'd drive. 95 Impala SS wagon, which doesn't exist. But you buy a Caprice and you put all the Impala stuff on it. And those cars are badass. You can fit, 12 of your best friends and a keg of beer.
I think Mike's got one of those too, right? You got a favorite wagon.
Well, yeah, you just take the Magnum and buy a Hell Crate. Bolt right in.
I rented a Magnum, and with luggage in the back, and there were 4 of us, it would wander down the road. It was.
Yes, but how did it do it in autocross, Matt?
That would have been the Sebring convertible I rented. Thank you very much.
I have instructed on track in a Magnum wagon. It's a big vehicle, but I'm not buying that for a track toy. I'm buying it to put to shame to everyone with their sports cars off the traffic light while I'm hauling 4x8 sheets of plywood.
See, and that's the other upside to a wagon. It's like the ultimate sleeper especially if you don't do anything fancy, but you got something juiced up under the hood, and you just rip off from a light. It's like, did I just get pulled by a wagon? It's like a matter of pride. I
got my doors blown off by a Buick Roadmaster.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm going to kick it off here with some Crazy Town.
Oh, I'm ready.
So before I get into it too crazy, I think the Buick Roadmaster is the only Buick Harry should consider, for sure. With a 350, a crate motor, maybe an LSX motor in there somewhere.
I agree. Also,
I saw a Caprice wagon, which is the equivalent, towing a car hauler with a Camaro on the back of it, and I was in love. That thing was amazing.
Does he get to change? Does he get to change his last name to Griswold?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, but you put the Impala SS stuff on it, and the thing's badass.
Yeah, exactly. So my next Crazy Town car is not too terribly crazy, but I mean, I would consider it's a pair of cars, either the E63 wagon, because everybody needs a 600 horsepower wagon, or the RS6 Avant. I think either one of those.
The fact that it's called an Avant just brings it up to that next level.
So
of
actually,
prestige.
One of my employees just bought a B5 Avant S4 for $500 with 70,000 miles on it. The guy wanted to sell it to someone who would love the car. This kid has been looking for the cars up and down the Eastern Seaboard for the last 4 or 5 years. He just finally got one. It's leaking oil and fluids out of every orifice that you can leak fluids out of, but he has it.
Well, as I always said, most honest car ever sold, resale value right on the hood.
All right, next, it's been touched on, but the V90 Volvo, or if you want to go something with bigger tires, you can do the cross-country version. The V90 regular wagon, at least when it first came out, had to be special ordered. They were only bringing the Cross Tour, to dealer lots. You had to special order the cross-country version. Next, I'm going to say a Stelvio, and you lower it, and you've got an Alfa Romeo wagon.
I give you that. That's major points right there.
Yeah. Two of my favorites, a Mitsubishi Galant VR4. If they made a wagon version and you can get one right-hand drive, I would bring one of those here.
Maybe in Japan, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, I don't think
yeah. So you'd have to bring it here.
I've seen the Evo wagon, but I haven't seen the
Yeah. So like an old '90s Galant VR4. Then I've got two more. One, my all-time favorite is the Chevy Nomad.
Most worthless wagon ever made because you can't put anything in it. But
you can put horsepower in it, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I know.
You can put all kinds of horsepower in it, and you can put a lot of stereo in it too, and you can fit airbags in it.
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff.
You can fit a lot of things in it, and then
that's all the most important things that you could fit in a wagon.
Yes, horsepower
and stereo.
That's all you need. And then lastly is something semi-serious. Have you thought about a Mach-E? It's not a wagon. It's more like a liftback, and it's raised or whatever. But I think it would give you that class that you're looking for because it's brand new, and nobody's got them on the street. And I think they're kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a consideration. We actually have access to the Ford Fleet program, which gives us premium pricing on all of Ford's products. So Ford is definitely it makes everything more attractive because everything's cheaper for us.
Sure.
Not a lot cheaper, just a pinch.
Just wait for the VW buzz. We're getting e-bussy.
Really? I'm just waiting for Peugeot to make it back to America so I can
get the Gary Busey.
What? So you could get a 405 station wagon like back in the 80s? Those things were horrendous.
That's what I'm waiting for. I got a Peugeot pepper grinder. I want a car to match.
You could have got a model. You could get a Model X there, Harry, with the gull wing doors and all that.
Yeah, possibly. Probably not, but yeah, maybe.
No, maybe. Hey, is the Reliant Robin a wagon or is it just a hatchback?
That's a mistake.
It's a mistake.
All right, I was going to say, I don't think Harry has any choice but to find a crossover. No choice. No, as far as my car, I'd take the wagon version of my car if I could. I got a 2016 SS, and in Australia, they just make one platform, apparently, and they're like, you can get it however you want it. You want it 2 doors, 4 doors, pickup truck, wagon. you want it LS3 or you want it LSA with a blower. Like, they don't care. They'll make it for you. So that would be probably my ultimate wagon, but those aren't here. And I'd say the more realistic option, the one that I've been noodling with Brad for a while, is find some mid-60s wagon, something like Mopar A-body, GMX platform, something as small as possible, which those things were actually like curb weight at under 3,000 pounds. Find something with a dead six in it that I can get for $500 and throw $30,000 worth of parts at it and just have some kind of pro touring / track something. So that's my fantasy wagon.
I saw a Holden HSV wagon when I was in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I just stared at it for a while.
Yeah. Full-size wagon, full send.
The wagons I liked were from the mid '70s. I had a Chevy Kingswood wagon, full size wagon. I paid $50 for it. Best car I ever bought for $50. And the coolest thing about it was, you put the key in the back and you turned it, and if you held it just a little bit, and the window went up into the roof. If you held it, turned it further, the tailgate went into the sunk into the body, and it was awesome. And it had the third row. We had 14 people in it one night. And it was, you couldn't hurt it. I hit a building in Georgetown and set off the burglar alarm.
It's like that scene from Lost Bullet, and you guys all
were those 14 people dead or alive?
We're not sure.
Good
Next
Lord.
podcast has to just be stories from Matt, by the way.
100%.
Is the title of next week's podcast "Y'all Be Yippin'"?
We touched on all the ones that, we talked about, the BMW 5 Series wagons when they existed, the 3 Series, which they finished making last year or the year before, the Volkswagens. What I like that's coming out but not going to be available here is the Arteon shooting brake Volkswagen. That's pretty. But also along those lines with the little bit higher price range is the R6 Avant. So it's seen difference, I imagine. Yeah, and I liked my CTSV wagon, but then I was sad to hear that it's actually small inside.
So Mike, you got anything else you want to add to that? Because I think you and I share a similar unicorn that we would appreciate as a wagon.
I already know which one it is.
Well, I have kind of an off-the-wall one that hasn't been made for a few years. It is basically an old-school wagon that they call an SUV because of the platform, which is the Ford Flex.
That was on my list. I was going to bring it up because a lot of guys really like the Flex. So what do you think of that, Harry?
I love the Flex. My wife said no. Fuck you. That's actually her exact words. You can go marry someone else.
I agree. I agree with Justice.
That's ugly.
But she said that thing was ugly.
I agree with
it's
that.
ugly.
What a smart woman you married.
Well, I mean, if you want ugly, you just get an HHR.
Is that a wagon?
Yes!
I think the HHR is a wagon.
You ruined it for me.
We found an episode where the HHR is appropriate.
Well, it is. Then the PT Cruiser is the same thing. Man.
Yes. Oh my God, you're stealing them all because the third one in that mess is the Fiat 500L. All these. These travesties.
Doesn't the PT Cruiser Turbo share the same motor as the SRT4?
Yes, it's the SRT4 Neon. It's a neon wagon.
And it's called the GT Cruiser. Thank you very much.
Correct.
With sticker wood paneling.
Yes, man. I was gonna end with the HHR. You stole my thunder, Mike.
Harry, that might be the perfect car for you. The Chevrolet Malibu Max.
Oh, I forgot about that gigantic turd.
That thing is ugly as sin.
But it's
Also light it on fire with a candle.
Seriously. I'd rather an Aztec.
Slides back.
Yeah, right. I'll take 2 Aztecs.
And you can have that thing.
And a Via Cross. What the fuck was that thing called? The Via Cross?
The Via Cross is awesome.
Yeah, but
The point is the Max was actually the same chassis as the Pontiac G6, even the coupe, because Pontiac was doing their whole wider is better thing still. So they're still doing their whole wider is better. So they wanted the longer wheelbase on the G6. So they took the Malibu Max's wheelbase rather than the Malibu's wheelbase for the G6.
The other nice thing actually, and it's kind of the dark secret, is that was in the period where Chevrolet was selling everything as an SS.
Yep.
So you could get a Sonic SS or a Malibu Max SS.
Yes.
Cavalier SS.
What the fuck do you do with a Malibu Max SS? I'm not sure.
It's a Cobalt, and it does the quarter mile faster than a GT3.
Yeah, until you start it.
Don't be talking smack about that HHR. That is a high quality vehicle, people.
That chat went on so damn long, and that was horrible. Everything about the whole entire thread was horrible.
Wait,
That was the era of so much SS that they made the SSR.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you guys. Did they ever make a Panos wagon?
Well, so I had to bring up the HHR because it's sitting behind Brad right now.
Well, that's a Nomad, but yes.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he's just
Shots
talking
fired!
trash. He's just talking trash, but he knows not to come across my Nomad.
But yes, by our rules, I was going to bring it in as an exception because it does have a D-pillar. It is actually considered a wagon when you look it up. And that's in that 2010 range along with the PT Cruiser, and the Fiat 500L quickly replaced that. And if you want to be environmentally friendly, you can always go with the Ford C-Max Energy.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually a wagon? It's not a hatchback?
It is considered a wagon. It has an extra window and a D-pillar, so yes.
It's a wagon.
And so does the Mini Clubman too, but
Yeah, the Mini Clubman's a wagon as well.
I think they're done. I think they're done with minis.
The Mini Clubman was actually getting attention because I could lease it again until I could stay over until I could get my Bronco.
because the Clubman does have that D-pillar. I mean, it's a pseudo wagon.
And barn doors.
I mean, my holy grail of wagons is still I'd rather have like a Volvo 850R. You get one of those tinted up and nice wheels and tires. That thing is phenomenal looking.
Brown with a manual.
Exactly. You got a manual, get over 300 horsepower.
Yeah, brown or that weird blue color.
The weird blue color would be
that's
the key.
That's all you get.
And if I don't have enough money, like you can get what's the other one? The V70R or something is the other one that's like with a 6-speed and 300 horsepower. Pretty sweet
What year was it? They made the Camry with had the dual wipers on the back window.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
That thing looks like a hearse from behind. Yeah. It's terrible.
The Magnum looks like a hearse.
Yeah, the
Magnum always looks like it's always in silver or black or some other monotone color.
Some other color.
The Magnum is actually, I think, classified as an SUV because SUVs, the manufacturer classifies them, but if the floor's laid
it's an SUV because it's on a Dodge truck platform, like every other Dodge ever made.
No, it's on a Mercedes E-Class platform.
Yeah, it's the same as a Chrysler 300, which I was going to say. You can put the 300 front clip on them. I've seen them converted over.
And it still looks like ass. Tanya, you got something?
If we're going for hearse-like.
The Ghostbusters.
Well, yes. But no, we want hearse-like and also modern within the last 5 years. Lincoln MKT. Talk about
God,
like a hearse.
What the hell? I have one of those that lives on the street behind me. There's an older couple that has one of those. I see it every day.
I'm trying to remember which one that was.
It's the hearse.
You got to look it up. The Mark T. Yeah, the MKT. Oh,
Google it. It looks like a hearse.
If it's not the hearse, it's the vehicle escorting the hearse.
Yes.
I thought that was a Future Home exclusive. I didn't know you could actually buy that.
No.
I just love the logo. Like the Mark T was like wedged together funny. So it's like little M, little tiny K, and the T over the top. Well, like they tried to look stylish, and it's just dumb.
The best part is when you can get the Mark T Blackwood edition with the pinstriping. Oh my God! Like who thought that was a good idea?
Come on, did you ever see the
Old Money, man? Old Money loves that shit.
You need to get it with the Boston top, the sort of fabric top across the back 3/4 of it, even though it's like not a convertible.
Fuck me running, that's good.
Right, the Boston top, right? I think that's what it's called.
Shit.
My first car was a Cutlass Supreme Coupe that had the back over the back seat had vinyl over the roof.
Yep.
Nice.
Landau.
Classy.
I think it's called the Boston
classy.
Top. I think that's what they called it. It's that
fuck
weird...
me.
No.
That's so good.
Sure.
It's the Boston top.
So the Landau
the
top.
bastard.
But have you ever seen a CTS with one of those? Because I have.
Ooh.
Oh God.
So I'll let Tanya go after me because I got to steal Mike's thunder since he stole mine for the HHR, which we can revisit as many times as we like.
Too many.
As much as I've sworn off BMWs, and there's two I would own in my lifetime if I could find
And
the right
what
one.
two are those?
Well, one is not a wagon. It's the Z4M Coupe. I like the Z4M Coupe. There's something about that car. But the other one would be that late kind of early 2000s 5 Series wagon. I thought they were very handsome cars. That was pre-Bangle getting his hands on them and ruining them. They were still kind of classy BMW, especially in black with some big, HRE wheels or something like that. Or even.
Could you imagine an M wagon? How nice would that be?
That would have been awesome.
Wasn't that the last time you could actually get an M5 Touring?
Correct.
In that style, in that generation.
They're super rare, but they look fantastic. Again, I'm not super in the BMW camp, but I would definitely check that one off the list. Mike.
So I actually like the E60 with the little cat eye tail lights that was available as a 550.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically an M5 wagon without some of the M-bits. It is a stunning car. I always love one.
But there is one car, if literally money was no object and I had all the time in the world to turn wrenches on it with spare engines and parts and everything else.
Can I steal your thunder? I'm going to steal your thunder.
I get my thunder stolen all the time.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The Passat W8 wagon?
Yeah, with the 6-speed and
Yes.
all-wheel drive. You better
Yep.
believe it. I looked for one. I looked pretty hard because I was going to get that instead of the Golf Estate. I just think those cars are super cool. I don't mind 4-liter W8. If it blows up, you put a 4.2 Audi motor in its place, it bolts right up. It is two VRs together. That motor sounds odd. And it's cool. It's different. It's very subdued. And in the right color scheme with the right wheels, it's a very attractive car. So I don't know. That's just me. I guess I like Euros, and I'm sure Tanya will back me up on this. You go travel in Europe enough, especially over the last decade, wagons were everywhere. It was the hot commodity. It was the thing that everybody had. And
They're all diesel.
Yeah, and if you didn't have a wagon, you had a hatchback. I mean, a sedan, and especially SUVs, that was not a thing.
Even recently, my dad was over there on a trip with my parents with another set of parents, and they had rented a Tiguan with the diesel and a 6-speed. And my dad would kill for one. He came home and he's like, why can't I have a car that gets 40 miles to the gallon, perfectly drives up hills all over the place, easily fits 4 adults with all the luggage in the world, and was awesome.
Because it kills people, allegedly.
But he was like, I wish they would sell that over here. Instead, he bought the final generation Forester that you could get with a stick. So he has a 6-speed Forester that he loves. He's driven it down to Florida and back up. He lives in Massachusetts. So he loves his Forester wagon, but he bought the final year he could get a stick on it is when he bought that one. Because he refuses to ever own a car that has an automatic. So only manuals for him.
Good.
He's got an A4 manual, like a newish A4 manual on that Forester, and then he has his 1989 11 SC from Europe.
So Tanya, do you have anything you want to add in there? Wagon you would own, just a fantasy thing?
Well, first of all, I already own a wagon. It just doesn't have a D-pillar. Just kidding. I've got a Golf. But I want to mention a terrible wagon just for the fun of it.
The HHR.
No, I'm going to go further back in time and suggest that the Plymouth Reliant wagon should
Oh, come on. What's wrong with the Plymouth Reliant?
definite choice on anybody's wagon list. Let's not forget
Low
that.
blow.
Dishonorable mention right there. But
But was it used by a Florida man?
probably. Let's be real. It'll be out
Naked Florida man.
next week. There's going to be something. The Saab, the Arrow that I mentioned earlier. I mean, that's beautiful. Honestly, as a wagon, I would very much enjoy that car. I would also very much enjoy a 2000s vintage RS4 wagon. I particularly like that style of the A4s and the S4s, and done well or done right with the correct body package and wheel choice, etc. I mean, to me, they're very good looking. If I was buying today and what's currently available of the last couple of years, I don't know. I'd probably go look or an Audi. but I don't know. For Harry, good luck.
I'm leaning towards the idea of just keep the Mini and wait for the Bronco to come out is probably the right decision. Dream Wagon, I want like Tomas's.
And I believe Rob is talking about the A6 Allroad with like 1,500 horsepower that can get through half a session on track before it overheats and needs to come off.
But in that half a session, no one can keep up with. I mean, he's
exactly
to be fair, but that thing just hauls. That thing is a friggin' rocket ship and sounds amazing at full chat. And you got to get rid of the Dahlback stickers to get some level of sort of sleeperville. But that thing is just on a different planet of awesome.
Well, with that, let's get back to what do we think? What do we think Harry should buy, right? That is the premise of this particular episode. What should I buy? So what are we thinking for Harry? Do we have a vote? I mean, we'll go around the horn real fast and just knee jerk. What do you think he should buy? All right, let's start with Mike.
I mean, if you stick in Wagon, I'd still say TourX.
Chrissy.
Buick, yeah.
Matt.
The Regal's probably the way to go.
Rob.
If it's new, it's got to be the Regal. If it's old, go Saab.
Andrew.
GMs aren't that bad, so yeah, the Regal.
Tanya.
A crossover.
Nice.
You have to be a Wagon, fine. I would go seriously consider the Buick.
I'm gonna go with the A4 Allroad. I'm the oddball out, and then Brad.
If it's old, I'm going Chevy Nomad. If it's new, I'm going Stelvio lowered.
Because you got to be a true petrol head at some point in your life.
Exactly. Well, he's already got an Alpha.
He's already got one.
Now.
He doesn't need
Yeah,
that.
I have an Alpha.
Yeah, he's already got that.
He needs an Alpha that doesn't run on Monday and an Alpha that doesn't run on Tuesday.
Nice. So, Harry, is there anything else? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think you guys hit everything way more thorough than I thought you were going to. This was nice.
Well, very good.
I'm definitely going to look at the Buick Regal. I have not seen it yet. It was in the leader house just because it fit all my criterias, being a wagon. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to own an SUV.
And the listeners are going to tune in next time when we can hear all about Harry's new HHR.
And on that utter disappointment, I think it's
That's
time.
awful.
It's time to end. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I hope the listeners out there enjoyed it. We never really do come to a decision or a consensus. I think this is the closest we've ever gotten. And I guess, Harry, the answer is Buick. So let us know how that goes.
Roadmaster.
Yeah, I'll let you know how the Buick is. I'm going to go lease one tomorrow.
Nice.
And don't forget your golf clubs.
In full disclosure, our high-level assessment of all the cars on this list is really based on our members and our owner experiences. We urge you to do your own research and fact-check everything before committing to any one of these vehicles. GTM, and Brad and I specifically, we're not responsible for your satisfaction, your happiness with whatever vehicle you choose. So make sure to visit, vehicle-specific online forums and or owners clubs for highly detailed first-hand information on any vehicle you might be interested in.
If you like what you've heard and want to learn more about GTM, be sure to check us out on www.gtmotorsports.org. You can also find us on Instagram at Grand Touring Motorsports. Also, if you want to get involved or have suggestions for future shows, you can call or text us at 202-630-1770 or send us an email at crewchief@gtmotorsports.org. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey listeners, Crew Chief Eric here. Do you like what you've seen, heard, and read from GTM? Great, so do we, and we have a lot of fun doing it. But please remember, we're fueled by volunteers and remain a no annual fee organization. But we still need help to keep the momentum going so that we can continue to record, write, edit, and broadcast all of your favorite content. So be sure to visit www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports or visit our website and click in the top right corner on the support and donate to learn how you can help.